This we will just touch on because of it is still a matter under investigation and all. The level of political intolerance that we have witnessed. Just yesterday there was a story we received in our newsrooms of a political aspirant, an MCA political aspirant in KBC County, who was hacked and actually unfortunately lost his life while doctors were trying to salvage his life in hospital. The consequences are still very unclear. Investigations are still underway to understand what might have led to his death, but it's coming just 3 days before I understand he took part in the ongoing party primaries. Really unfortunate. But why I'm raising this point is because leaders from that region, what they were saying is they were calling for security for all aspirants in the country, that it is time that the government should really get serious and offer security for any person who is vying on the is on the race to the 2022 general election. So my question to you both, what is happening? Is it that serious? The former Prime Minister the other day had his helicopter stoned, and we've seen even a rally that the DP once held in the Eastlands part of Nairobi became chaotic at some point. And when we see such things in our political environment, what is it that it is, what message is it sending about us as a populace? Willie, let me begin with you.
Hey, that's a cause to worry, Serfine. If we have gotten to the point of hacking aspirants to death, then what is in waiting for the voter? That is just selling their manifesto. And most probably they're in the wrong party in that region. Maybe they are supporting the wrong candidate. Wrong in terms, this is not the popular presidential or maybe governor candidate that people are saying they want. Just someone who has a divergent opinion on where they would want to lead the people. Now, God forbid that 2007, 2008 may look like a joke if we continue that way. After the former Prime Minister's helicopter was stoned the other day, I took time to peruse through the social medias. And I'm telling you, the things I read there were shocking. Not just shocking, it shakes your whole body. Guys from the other side of the country, where the Prime Minister comes from, were saying, we want now Ruto to come and ask for votes here. What does that tell you? They're inviting him now for trouble. Okay? Now, what will happen to the voter if the leaders we look up to adhere to the law and lead by example cannot tolerate each other? What about the people down there? What about the voters? What will happen? What is the government doing? What are we doing as leaders? What are you doing as a presenter here? What is the role of everybody in this country? Because when this nation burns from one end, trust me, everybody in the nation will be affected. And I think it is high time we preach peace more than campaign. And I think we as the voters and as the people, we need to vote for people who are talking about peace more than people who are talking even about their manifestos and their political sides, because it might get to a place that peace in this country might be something that will be long gone for a very long time. Not so long ago, look at what happened in 2013. A whole economy was coming to a standstill 2 days in a week, Monday and Thursday, because more than 5 million people felt that their leader, the way elections were conducted, there were some issues. Now, what happens? Because if you look at the projections, it is the same case scenario. This election is almost like 50-50. Even if Raila is ahead or William Ruto may be ahead, but look at the number of followers. What happens when these people start saying it was not free and fair, when they start questioning the process of election? Where does that leave us as a nation? And I think we all have a duty now to preach peace before we ban this nation.
It is true. Very pertinent questions you're raising there. It is a point of concern for Kenyans who have been part of history and have seen how this country almost went to the brink of falling apart based on the differences that could not, the political differences that we had as a country. Gibson, I mean, is it too much to ask if I say that we ought to get to a point where our diversities politically do not necessarily break us, even in our social fabric. I mean, politics is just like a game like any other. Look at football match, for instance. You support a different team, I support a different team. We go there, we watch the game, we enjoy, we come out of there laughing. Can't that, you know, apply when it comes to politics?
Honestly, Sav, I think it can apply. It's only that we have been having some few elements. I would want to say it's few elements because it's not everyone. You've seen very civil campaigns happen. It's not on a daily basis that we have these issues of people being stoned. It's unfortunate that that happened to the Prime Minister, former Prime Minister. It's also unfortunate to the MC aspirant who lost his life. But what I want to say is that at one point, Kenyans will have to decide. Kenyans will have to decide which way to go, because we are at that point where we have to determine what actually we want to identify with. And I don't think Kenyans will go for the aspect that we are people who cannot be able to control their emotions when it comes to politics. Politics is a highly emotive game, but I think it now behooves the political luminaries, if I want to use that word, to actually call upon their troops that it's not about a do or die thing. There's Kenya to live after the contest. We need to shake hands and continue and grow the economy. We are at a place that our economy does not give any room for us to waste time, for us to engage in any sideshows. We only need to focus on the economy. And if we start bringing issues to do with what happened in 2008, 2007, 2008, it will be unfortunate, and I don't think we'll salvage this country.
True. Willie, I remember last time we were having a sit down with you on the show here, a very powerful parting shot you gave. I just want you to pick up from there. If I have a problem today, I will not go to Raila Odinga or William Ruto. I will go to my next door neighbor. I mean, bring this point home for a Kenyan who is watching you this morning to know that at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, you know, who is in power, who is not in power. At the end of the day, the issue you're going through, the person who will be able to hold your hand in it is that person who is right next to you. I mean, just want you to talk to somebody who's worth,
You know, Saf, when we have 4 years without elections, we are living in peace as brothers and sisters. We are Kenyans. But the electioneering year, that is when we are reminded who we are. That's when you're reminded you're a Kikuyu. Kikuyus don't vote for Luos. They don't vote for so-and-so. You're reminded you're a Kalenjin. And so what happens is that you stop looking at me like you're the neighbor whom you have been walking with through life. And you start now looking at me as your political threat. Raila is very far from the voter. William Ruto is very far from the voter. He probably doesn't even know your existence. In case of an emergency today at night, who do you call? Who do you run to first? Not even your folks way back at home. You talk to your next door neighbor. This is the person who comes to your rescue anytime. And so we need to think about our relationship with each other as Kenyans more than we think about our emotional attachment with our politicians who probably don't even know we exist. And this is an electioneering year when now these politicians are looking for any form of gathering. And so if there are so many funerals, it is to their advantage. If we hack each other, it is to their advantage. Don't be surprised.
That's an interesting way of looking at it.
Yes, they will come to your burial and say, this guy was a very good supporter of mine. Probably you've never even met. And then they'll say, but remember you guys, I'm vying to be your next MP. Please vote for me. So don't let these voters look for votes in your burial. You know, preserve your life. Take care of your brother. Take care of your sister, who is from another region, not necessarily from the same mother. Because we as Kenyans, it is up to us, and we need to practice political tolerance and emotional intelligence when it comes to voting and elections. Because elections come and go. And how many months do we have to election?
Less than 5.
Less than 5. Do we ban a whole nation because of an election now? Do we ban all the work that we have been doing for for the last 4 years, because of 5 months to elections, 1 day of voting, we destroy everything that there is. I think what is important right now, Saf, is peace than even prosperity. Let's talk about peace. When there is peace, people will prosper. But even there is no peace, how can we prosper?
There's no development. That actually came to the fore, courtesy of the handshake. When the handshake happened, actually one of the reasons why those proponents of the handshake were saying the reasons why they did it was because nothing was going on at that particular time. The country was burning. So it was necessary and prudent for us to really just sort of embrace each other and come to a realization that we need to move on. So why do we want to reverse the gains? My question again. But Gibson, just what role do leaders have to play in peace building of this particular country? Because we cannot mobilize ourselves as voters and say we want peace and leave them out of this conversation. How do they come in, and what should they essentially do as a proactive approach to prevent, making this country fall apart?
Honestly, Sav, I think it's play a critical role.
Yeah, what should they do?
They need to outrightly, at least in every campaign, before they start speaking, they say, I preach peace. I preach peace for the sake of this country. I come in peace and I preach peace.
But how do you do that when you're calling your opponent names and really throwing mud and stones at them? If you're given a chance to even just hold them right there, then, it would get murky. How do you preach peace when you're preaching a totally different gospel in this rallies?
When I speak for the two leaders, the two major leaders, I think they stand for peace. The problem is their honjos, the people behind them, are the people trying to take advantage. And that is, I think, the responsibility of the political luminaries, as they were, to actually calm their troops down and tell them, please, accept everyone as they come, because I also need to be accepted elsewhere. If you don't accept these other people from other side, I might also not get time or ground elsewhere to campaign. So once that message is clear, then I think Kenyans will follow suit, because politics is a very emotive thing, and at that point where Kenyans just need something small to tiff them off. And as long as you have some disgruntled MCA telling you that you don't like this guy, is not for our guy, then that makes guys to start running up and down, and that is something we need to avoid. But then on the other point, I would want to say we have institutions like the National Council of Cohesion, the Cohesion Body, NCSC. They need to start doing civic education. They actually, if I was to be the CEO of that body, I'll call all politicians, tell them, guys, come here. Now, these are the rules of the game. You first sign, or if you don't sign, or you sign and don't adhere, we're going to call some shots, and we'll have to ensure that you don't actually have you in the race. That will mean something. But now these guys are quiet. I've not heard anything.
There have been attempts. There was even a time they said there's a list of shame.
Did it proceed from there?
Yeah, the list of shame.
It didn't. So that's how much.
They've actually summoned
that's so much
a number of politicians to answer to certain, remarks they made on the, campaign trail. I mean, is that not enough, or there could be something?
It's not enough. Honest, from where I sit, it's not enough. We need to see these guys not just back once and then disappear and retreat backwards. They need to be at the forefront and say, we're going to deal with everybody who is not for peace in this country.
Before we put that matter to rest, what makes our politics such a do-or-die scenario? We're victims of circumstances, perhaps, because we could be addressing the problem of let's have peace, let's have tolerance, but we have not really dug deep to look at why is this politics such a high-stake phenomenon? What made it so precious that if I have to ensure that the person from my community is at the top, I have to ensure that the person from my tribe is the one who gets this ticket. Why is it so emotive and high-stake?
I think there's a lot of ignorance in this country. We are yet to break the barrier where we say we have broken even with ignorance. There's also the issue of having a lot of poverty, more than the rich. The number of the poor people vis-a-vis the people who have a good life tends to be a bit more. And so politicians take advantage of these people. They start blaming other politicians and leaders for their poverty. You're poor because of so and so. Your life is not good because of so and so. And so they take advantage of that ignorance and that kind of and poverty. And so when you start hearing from a leader you look up to inciting you against a certain leader, you start now venting out, you're the cause of our poverty. Not so long ago in this country, we had a very dangerous narrative of the dynasties versus the hustlers, where now the hustlers were blaming the dynasties for their poverty. Okay, this is an issue that even the international community had to come in and just help this country, because that was a very dangerous narrative. And so we need to start thinking about, what can I do to improve myself? Not what the politician is doing for me, okay? What do I do to make my life move on? And I can tell you, even the next president and even the next regime, there's not much they will do to change your status quo, unless the things you personally decide, unless the bad decisions that are contributing to where you are, unless you're willing to change them and do things differently, you will continue blaming politicians and leaders for your poverty and your misery. And so what happens now, these cunning politicians will come and incite your situation against the leaders who are in place, and they never do things differently even when they are given the chance. And so we need now to start doing civic education on every platform. The next regime should actually fight ignorance in this country. Say the next 3 years we are fighting ignorance. We are not going to do any development
since we got independence. I mean,
but why do we ban our country? Why do we kill each other at the expense of an election? Isn't that ignorance of the highest order? And that is why I would propose, whoever takes the next government, waste every resource, not to waste, use every resource in the next 3 years, just to make sure we have an ignorant-free nation.
Ignorant-free nation, that's a good one. So to achieve that ignorant-free nation, it will have to take a lot for that to happen.
Yeah.
And I just want us to move this conversation forward and look at the role of the voter, let me call him or her that in this context,
yes.
In deciding who that next leader is going to be. Because we've had these common narratives of power is shared at night, or coalitions this, or exits and realignments. And it's usually boardroom meetings.
Yes.
These decisions that are very crucial, and they're going to have a ripple effect on us as wananchi. They are made by people at the top. Where do we fall as voters? What is it that is our role in making those decisions? Let me start with you, Gibson.
I think what I think is Kenyans are a very enlightened lot, but I don't know, when it comes to elections, then they make the worst decision. It's like that kid who performs so well.
Anyway?